Targeting doctors. The shocking true story of a sniper's mission. He's a self-appointed assassin, a killer who believes he's on a mission beyond the law. He felt he was almost an avenging angel, that he was doing God's work. But to those who crossed his path, he was an angel of death. He was in fact the judge, the jury, and the executioner who carried out the sentence. Overnight, a city is thrown into blind panic that would soon spread across the country and beyond. The fugitive aspect of this case sparked a worldwide manhunt, clearly. The sniper was playing a game with the police, but armed with the very latest in forensic technology. This is one game the cops have no intention of losing. People say policemen don't take things personally. I think we damn well do. In an upscale neighborhood in Vancouver, Canada, a man quietly starts his day with coffee and the morning newspaper. But little does he know, a very different morning has been planned for him. In broad daylight, for no apparent reason, a man is gunned down in the safety of his own home by an unknown sniper. After his wife calls 911, Dr. Garson Ramales is rushed to the hospital. At his home, forensic experts scour the crime scene for evidence. One of the first to arrive is Sergeant Ann Drennan, who is shocked by the nature of the crime. "It's a very upscale, affluent neighborhood," she says. "It's normally very peaceful, very quiet there." That type of call, a shooting or something with a lot of external violence, was very rare. When the first shot was fired, it went through the sliding glass doors into the kitchen area, but missed Dr. Ramales. The next bullet tears through his thigh, blowing a hole the size of a cantaloupe. Blood is everywhere, gushing from the wound. For a bullet to cause such damage, the sniper must be using a powerful weapon. When investigators turn their attention to the laneway behind the house, their worst suspicions are confirmed. They find a spent shell casing commonly used with M14 type rifles. The ammunition itself was very unusual, says an investigator. This particular ammo was manufactured in either Russia or Asia. In a nearby garbage can, police find unused rifle shells. But the spent shells and the live ones don't match. They were quite different from the shells located after the actual shooting, notes a detective. It appears the shooter planted dummy evidence. Clearly, the sniper was playing a game with the police, deliberately deceiving them, thinking ahead to what the police would be looking for. Police are encouraged when a witness comes forward, reporting she saw someone suspicious at her gas station. The man had very muddy hands, she says. He was rather dirty, kind of wet, and looked like he might have been outside digging around in dirt or leaves. From her description, police create composite sketches of a man average height, about 200 pounds, white, not much to go on, but the sniper may have left another clue. Investigators find what they call fresh garbage remnants of food and drink boxes. Were these left by the shooter? If so, police wonder what kind of person would casually eat before committing such a cold-blooded act. It indicated that somebody had likely been in that area for a period of time, waiting for the right moment to take a shot, says a detective. The only good news is the victim's condition. Fortunately, Dr. Ramales, a doctor himself, was able to take the sash off his robe and make a tourniquet to stem the blood flow. He's headed for a full recovery. But despite their best efforts, police are no closer to finding their cold-blooded sniper. "We didn't know what the motive was here," says an investigator. "We knew that, for whatever reason, someone wanted to kill somebody in that house, likely the doctor. The fear lingers that another attack could follow, and nearly a year. To the day that fear becomes reality. This time, the sniper strikes 3,300 kilometers away in Ancaster, Ontario. It's a carbon copy attack. An unknown shooter fires from behind the house. The victim, another doctor, survives the shooting. Again, the ammunition suggests a military weapon. In a shed behind the house, police find bits of wrappers and garbage. The sniper had been there for some time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. 2 years later, On November 11, 1997, Remembrance Day in Canada, Veterans Day in the U.S., a bullet tears through glass in Winnipeg, Manitoba, striking Dr. Feynman in the right shoulder. Dr. Feynman survives, but the ammo matches the previous two attacks perfectly. There were a lot of similarities, says an investigator. It appeared we possibly had a serial shooter out there. With no idea who the shooter is, police turn their attention to the victims. The sniper isn't just taking potshots and running. It's calculated cold. He's hunting doctors specifically. Doctors who perform abortions. On the trail of a mysterious serial sniper who has shot 3 doctors in their homes, police reach a horrifying conclusion. He's targeting abortion providers. Joyce Arthur, who worked for the Abortion Rights Coalition in Vancouver, explains, "It's hard to think of any issue other than abortion that is so divisive and so radicalized." In the late 1990s, North America saw growing violence from anti-abortion activists as government protection for abortion providers and women seeking their services increased. Even in laid-back Vancouver, we were very aware at the Vancouver Police Department of the rising violence and aggression in the anti-abortion movement, says an officer. One protester showed up with a baseball bat, another with a knife. There were death threats. It was scary. As time went on, doctors became the primary targets. But no one had been this smooth, this well-planned, shooting a doctor and escaping with the intent to strike again. After forming a national task force, authorities face a critical decision, whether to go public with a key link: the date. 3 shootings: Dr. Ramali's in Vancouver in 1994, Dr. Short in Ancaster in 1995, and Dr. Feynman in Winnipeg in 1997, all occurred on or near Remembrance Day. This is someone attacking in the fall for 2 reasons, says an investigator. Tactically, the days are short and dark, and symbolically, it's Remembrance Day, Veterans Day. Doctors began taking a lower profile, adopting security measures. Some wore bulletproof vests. They were terrified. With each successful attack, the shooter grew more confident, emboldened by his actions. And with Remembrance Day just weeks away, it's not only Canadian doctors who fear for their lives. Dr. Barnett Slepian is now on the sniper's list of victims, but with a tragic difference: he will be dead by the time police arrive. Detective Lieutenant Joel Lort with the Amherst Police Department is among the first on the scene. "We do a quick walkthrough so I can see as much as possible at a glance," he says. The ambulance is already gone. Dr. Slepian had been removed. Dr. Slepian was a staunch advocate for women's right to choose, often facing protests at his home. Inside the house, Lort ensures his team preserves potential evidence. If one officer or civilian makes a mistake and kicks a bullet, it could throw our entire investigation off, he warns. FBI Special Agent Joel Mercer joins the scene. As the crime violates the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances, FACE Act, a 1994 federal law protecting providers of women's reproductive health services. Captain Michael Melton, Chief of Forensics with the Amherst Police Department, arrives and learns of Dr. Slepian's death. "That information was transmitted to us, so we knew we had a homicide," he says. For Agent Mercer, the reality hits hard. "There was a family portrait on the wall that caught my attention," he recalls. A beautiful family, 4 young boys living the American dream. The night the shot was fired, the entire family was home. 2 of the boys were within 10 feet of Dr. Slepian when he was shot. That's a memory they can never escape. You're at home, you've been out for the evening, you come back, and suddenly a bullet comes screaming through the back window out of the dark and hits you," Mercer continues. "How can you imagine that? Your home is your castle. If you can't feel safe at home, where can you feel safe?" The deadly game between the sniper and his hunters has become an all-out war. "Killing a doctor, he's gone and done it," says an investigator. "It brought the full force of the law." A joint command post is set up with local police. New York State Police and the FBI. Detectives canvass the neighborhood, asking if anyone heard or saw anything. Dogs are deployed, and the sheriff's department helicopter searches with forward-looking infrared to detect heat from a recently fired cartridge. Captain Melton focuses on pinpointing where the sniper fired from. Using a ballistic laser, he aligns it with the bullet holes in the sliding glass door. We projected that laser beam through the 3 holes, the screen, the interior glass, and the exterior glass, he explains. The beam traces the bullet's trajectory back to the woods, revealing the exact spot where the killer stood hours earlier. But once again, the sniper has vanished without a trace, or has he? Police hope the Sleepian crime scene will finally turn the tables on their killer. After wounding 3 abortion doctors, the serial sniper has committed a brutal murder. State-of-the-art forensics identify where the shooter stood. But what can this crime scene reveal? Our problem was at night, we had to stay out of that field, says Melton. If you go in there, you might step on evidence you can't see. The next morning, Melton's team boxes off a 12-foot area around the tree and sifts through leaves. What we didn't find was crucial, he says. The absence of a cartridge case told us more about the suspect. With no ballistic evidence, police examine the tree itself. We're looking for a needle in a haystack, says Melton. Not just hard forensics, but DNA, hair, fibers, something with perspiration. Bark has crevices. If clothing rubs against, it could leave a fiber. If a head brushes it, a hair could snag. Using adhesive footwear lifters, they collect trace evidence from branches the shooter might have braced against. They get lucky. Blue-green acrylic fibers, likely from a sweater, are found on the tree. The evidence is sent to the FBI lab in Washington for analysis. DNA is the gold standard for homicide investigations, says an investigator. But if you have no one to match it to, all you have is a profile of an unknown assailant. Meanwhile, in Canada, a mysterious package arrives not at a police station, but at the offices of the Hamilton Spectator newspaper, a 10-minute drive from Ancaster, site of the second shooting. Crime reporter Bill Dunphy describes it. It was a disturbing package, complete with graphics, a collage, and scribblings with vague references and threats, including a taunt to the police to solve the puzzle, Piggies. The police take keen interest, redoubling their efforts. 10 packages are sent, each more violent and disturbing. One depicts a doctor lying in a pool of blood. Another features the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Fear escalates among police, the public, and the newsroom. Back in Amherst, New York, police are no closer to identifying Dr. Sleepian's killer. There's a list of radical pro-lifers in the U.S. on the FBI's radar, says an investigator, but we don't have a specific name for the shooter. With Remembrance Day less than 2 weeks away, the pressure mounts. We know other abortion doctors live in town, says a detective. We notify them, place heavy checks on their homes and businesses. We're heightened, expecting something else might happen. The media frenzy over Sleepian's murder adds pressure. The story explodes on CNN International, says an investigator. The murder was a cold-blooded assassination, the type for which the death penalty should apply. For police, it's time for old-fashioned grunt work. We're doing 100 things at once, says a detective. Knocking on doors, stretching the perimeter for suspicious cars over the last 6 months, putting out tip lines, meeting with the FBI and Canadian authorities, picking their brains. Their hard work pays off. A woman from Dr. Sleepian's neighborhood visits the command post. She jogs every morning, and 9 days before the shooting, noticed an older model car that seemed out of place. She knows the paperboy, the milkman, when people walk their dogs or leave for work, says an investigator. This car didn't belong. The man in the car, realizing he's being watched, gets out and jogs, but barely. He was lumbering, limping, like he was pretending, she says. He heads toward Dr. Sleepian's house. After her hour-long jog, The car is still there, which she finds odd for someone who didn't seem fit to run. Remarkably, she keeps a jogging journal, noting her path, time, and the car's Vermont license plate. "This is the kind of person you'd die for on an investigation," says a detective. The plate is registered to James Charles Kopp. Within minutes, police have their first look at their potential killer. Kopp has over 30 anti-abortion arrests across the U.S. and even in Europe, including a stint in jail in Italy for abortion protests. "This seemed to be the only thing this man did," says an investigator. The prime suspect now has a name, James Charles Kopp, with Remembrance Day approaching. The hunt intensifies. Taunted by a killer targeting abortion doctors, police finally have a lead. They develop Kopp as a suspect, but he's nowhere to be found. "There was concern that going public with his identity would push him underground," says an investigator. "He's already good at hiding." They compile lists of his associates and track his movements, discovering his ties to a radical anti-abortion group called the Army of God. The Army of God is a loose-knit terrorist group of anti-abortion individuals, explains an investigator. They'll glue doors, set arson fires in clinics, take it to the next level. The Army of God manual praises someone called Atomic Dog, James Kopp. He earned the nickname by developing an atomic lock to bolt himself to clinic entrances, blocking access. "Everyone we talked to described Kopp as a gentle, religious man who wouldn't hurt anyone," says a detective. They were shocked he'd be involved in anything criminal. But police need to find him, if only to learn why he was in the area. With Remembrance Day a week away, they face a critical decision. "All the shootings happened around the same time of year," says an investigator. "Given the timing, we issued a material witness warrant for Kopp. His picture is circulated nationally and internationally, with the FBI and Interpol involved." Amherst police returned to the Slepian crime scene. The head of the detective bureau asked if something could have been thrown into a bush or buried. Says Melton, "They lay out a 50-foot grid, searching shoulder to shoulder. After hours, they hit pay dirt. An officer spots the tip of a black plastic bag in the soil. Inside is a hat, a shovel, hearing protection, a fanny pack, and a cartridge case matching the 7.62 by 39 round that killed Dr. Slepian. I believe he planned to return once the heat died down to recover those items for his next victim." Says an investigator. No gun is found, but the items could hold DNA linking to the shooting tree and the sniper. Knowing lab results will take weeks, police intensify their hunt for Kopp. At his vehicle's registered address, residents knew him through the anti-abortion movement and forwarded his mail to another Vermont address. There, the same story emerges. Kopp has dozens of aliases and lives from post office box to post office box. His family hasn't heard from him. But in New Jersey, police find a trove of his belongings, including a magazine subscribed to Dennis Malvasi. Investigators learn Malvasi was convicted of bombing abortion clinics in New York in the 1980s. His history of violence raises concerns. But neither Malvasi nor Kopp can be found, as if they've vanished. "This was common with the Army of God," says an investigator. "They didn't want to be found." On December 22, 1998, 2 months after Slepian's murder, a port authority officer finds an abandoned car with Vermont plates at Newark International Airport. It's Kopp's, left since November 4th, the day the material witness warrant was announced. "The windows were down, the key in the ignition," says an investigator. He hoped someone would steal it. Inside is a binocular case matching binoculars from the buried bag. It's incriminating but not definitive. They still need a DNA match, and Kopp could be anywhere in the world. In Hamilton, Ontario, police get a break when they identify the man delivering threatening packages. Security footage from a mall shows Ronald Way, a former cabbie with a violent past, including arrests for armed robbery and assault. His DNA doesn't match crime scene samples, clearing him of murder, but he serves 2 years for threatening death. The mystery deepens. Dr. Hugh Short, the Ancaster victim, wasn't a public figure, suggesting the sniper had inside information, possibly from way out in spring. The Sleepian crime scene is searched again. An investigator notices red spray paint on a tree, pointing to a new search area. Buried 18 inches underground, wrapped in rubber, is a Russian SKS assault rifle, a modified, high-powered weapon with a custom scope and a homemade shell catcher to collect spent cartridges. This explained why we never found a spent cartridge, says Melton. Forensic tests confirm it fired the fatal round. The same blue-green fiber from the tree is found on the gun and in Kopp's car. There's no doubt James Charles Kopp is their prime suspect. In June 1999, Kopp is placed on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, sparking a global manhunt. Police believe he's relying on Army of God numbers for support. An informant in New York reveals a couple in Brooklyn communicating with Kopp. The FBI wiretaps Ted and Joyce Barnes, who are really Dennis Malvasi and Loretta Mara, Kopp's closest confidant. Mara protested alongside him and shared a deep bond. The wiretap reveals they're sending Kopp money and emotional support. The FBI uncovers a dead-drop email account where Mara and Kopp leave draft messages. A search warrant for Yahoo confirms regular contact. Then, Kopp makes a critical mistake, calling Mara directly to request money wired to Darren Dan. "I know I'm not supposed to use the phone," he says. "I need you to resend the password." The FBI traces the call to France, and within 20 minutes, French police arrest Kopp. On the same day, March 2001, the FBI arrests Mara and Malvasi. In New York, Kopp claims he only intended to injure Dr. Sleepian to stop him from performing abortions. Why use a high-powered rifle and shoot from the woods at night? Challenges an investigator. Why not face him? France refuses to extradite Kopp unless the U.S. agrees not to seek the death penalty. Confident in their forensic evidence, the U.S. agrees, and Kopp is sent home. Kopp admits to second-degree murder, possibly to secure Mara's early release. But the evidence shooting tree, buried bag, and gun points to first-degree murder. "I've never experienced a case with such an avalanche of evidence," says an investigator. Kopp is convicted in state and federal court, ensuring he'll die in prison. "In many ways, that's a fate worse than death," says a detective. Kopp is later charged with the Canadian shootings. Forensic DNA ties him to the Ancaster attack, and border records link him to the others. "He shattered a family," says an investigator. "He took a husband and father from a wife and 4 boys. When Kopp says he did what he had to do to save lives, he ruined more lives that night than just Dr. Sleepian's." If this story touched your heart, don't let it fade into silence. Every missing person is more than a name. They're a life, a memory, a voice that still matters. If you believe stories like this should never be forgotten, please like, share, and subscribe to help keep their memory alive. Together, we honor the lost. Together, we give silence a voice. Because remembering isn't just love, it's justice.